It would feel remiss to have a podcast called Fearless and Unfiltered without diving into fearlessness as a concept, a personality trait, and where it belongs in business. You probably noticed that fearless is not spelled a traditional way in this podcast. It is with a Y instead of an E at the end. And that is a play on my name. My name's Alyssa, and fearless with a Y is a persona, an ideology that I created many years ago to tap into when I was feeling the opposite of brave. My company today is called Fearless Media, but well before that, I had a blog called Live Fearless, and it was a lifestyle blog. It was not a successful blog. I think that my mom might have been my most loyal reader. But when I think back to that time, I can think about what fearlessness as a whole for me meant and how I started to develop the muscle. Because the thing about it is that I don't think we are all inherently fearless. I don't think we're fearless all the time. I think that this is a muscle that we have to train and that we have to flex because there is a difference between acknowledging your fears. That's the first step, right? But then you have to push past them. So I live by the motto of feel the fear and do it anyway. And I can say that probably at this point, 9 out of 10 times, I'm able to do it anyway, which is the most important part. But back when I had the Live Fearless blog, I was not in that headspace. I would have never dreamed that I would be here recording a podcast episode or that I would own a business or that I would have quit my corporate job to even start said business. But I found that oftentimes there is a moment, whether it is a big out loud moment that everybody sees, or it is a small internal pivotal moment that is just for you personally, that helps you tap into that fearlessness and kind of ride the wave. So as you're listening, I want to encourage you to think about what those moments were for you. And if you haven't had them yet, keep an eye out for things that might happen in your life where you have a choice, where you either have to take a step back because you're feeling fear, or you can feel the fear and move forward regardless. I have two instances that I often talk about. The first was in my career when I was tasked with building a social media training program for an entire sales team during COVID. The company that I worked for at the time, our sales were operated in person. They would go visit 10 to 12 offices every day. And when they couldn't do that during COVID, we completely had to change the way that they were selling, like everybody else in the world. I was the person who, just in a sales operations role, not a manager role, not a leadership role, was tasked with building this program from the ground up. So strategizing it, implementing it, tracking the KPIs. It was a huge pivotal moment in my career. And I was scared shitless because I was thinking, who the hell am I to do this? And also I can't mess it up. But I did it, and I did it well. And it proved to me that I was capable of doing work without needing to get somebody else's permission or go with their ideas rather than my own. And that up until that point, I had lived in a space of not having that confidence in myself to do really, really good independent work. And from there, everything just kind of catapulted. Because eventually, when I left that job, I did so to start a social media marketing company. So I took this skill that I had honed and developed and brought it to service-based businesses, which is the area that I am passionate about. And it has been a roller coaster of a ride. But on the personal side, and this is where I say they might be small moments that nobody else is even aware of. It might just be an internal measure for you. I tapped into fearlessness when my first son was born because he was born 11 weeks early and I had no choice. It wasn't a moment that I could look at and say, I don't really want this. I'm kind of scared of it. I'm good. I'm just going to No, I mean, the child came plunging into the world. That was a weird description, right? Plunging. Okay. He came into the world like very quickly, very unexpectedly, and was instantly airlifted to the hospital 2 hours away from where I lived at the time. And I still get chills when I think about the fact that that night I was in a hospital for about an hour alone. My husband had gone home to collect some of our things. My son had already been airlifted. Someone handed me a breast pump. He was so early that I hadn't even brought my breast. I had not even purchased a breast pump yet. I was just sitting there like, what am I supposed to do? What? What do you do with this thing? But I wasn't feeling any emotion at the time. I was obviously in shock. An hour later, I was eating pizza and I was laughing. And again, those were all things that happened out of shock. I definitely felt my feelings later that night and for the rest of that entire experience. But all of this is to say that I did not have a choice. Okay, so some moments you'll face head on, you won't have a choice, but they will change you. And oftentimes, I promise you, it's going to be for the better. So, this is applicable for those of you who maybe have been laid off from your job and are figuring out the next step. Do you want to go the entrepreneurship route? That might end up being the best thing that ever happened to you. Another example could be if you are in a perfectly fine job, you're making good money, you on paper have done all the things that you're supposed to do, but it just doesn't feel aligned with you, right? There is going to be a small thing that happens that kind of makes you stop and pause and either face it or not. And in those moments, I want you to remember that you have to be fearless to do something bold. So stick with me here because in future episodes, it's not going to be me talking about my journey. I'm going to bring in founders, creatives, thought leaders, people who have built companies in non traditional ways. And we're going to talk about the gritty things, the moments of fear that they had to face and move through to get to where they are now. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, come back, come learn, come be motivated. Let's have a little bit of fun together. I will see you on the next Fearless and Unfiltered episode.